Hello and welcome back to another update. I've been hard at work and mostly been working on the UI system, which is pretty time consuming and difficult to get sorted out. Uh, because just because, well, there's a lot of information that I need to be able to display and I need to do it in a very compact way so things are not clustered up and the UI is still easy to understand and navigate, and that's the difficult part of it, I guess. So, and also there's a lot of cross integrations between the different systems that are going to take place. So let's get started by currently you see the shield and HP bars on the indicator reticles. Those aren't functional yet, it's just a placeholder that I put there for now. Um, but I will probably be getting to that eventually. I'm not sure soon because I'm just kind of going from one thing to the next according to what my priority is at the moment in terms of my needs for programming. And right now, I need to implement the command layer of the software that allows for interfacing player commands through the interface into the ships themselves so they can be deployed. Commands that are issued through the command interface or other interfaces that I implement, such as the selectable drag box, where you can select all ships later on that will be within that box. There'll also be, as I said before in a previous video, there'll be a top-down perspective camera that will have it'll have a map in the corner that shows you where things are in the battle space, such as mining bases and other stations that you'll be able to capture that will grant you resources and other bonuses. Um, in this camera mode, you'll be able to drag and select ships and issue them orders, blanket orders, without using the command interface if you don't want to. So if you want to just like select all these ships and tell them to attack a target, uh, or select a battle group from here and command it with a little bit more simplistic instructions, like you would see in a top-down style 4X RTS strategy game like Stellaris or some of the others. And so let's go ahead and get started. Whenever I click on a ship here, it brings up the battle group that ship is in. And you can see that I've been working on the interface. And basically what you see is capital ships, then supply ships, and squads in the list. And these are now highlighted. They're both blinking with the highlight shader, but also I implemented a system to always have to turn the indicators on for them. And eventually I may add some different stats to the indicators whenever they are selected like this. So what happens is if I were to, let's go ahead and select it again. And then right here is the filter. And these are actually buttons here that you'll be able to click on to bring up another panel. So for example, if you were to click on one of these squad buttons, it'll bring up the squad command panel. And the squad command panel will show information about each individual ship in more detail. Because right now it doesn't have the resources on here. I could add it, but I didn't want it to look too clustered. Um, and I'm not sure that the player will care as much about managing the resources of individual ships. Really, you're not going to be managing the resources. You're going to be managing how your supply ships deploy resources, right? And what their deployment priorities are. So you're not going to be micromanaging, trying to manage the supply to each individual ship, because in a lot of battles, this is going to be an epic battle scene. There's going to be a lot of ships and a lot of things going on. So I'm not trying to overwhelm the player with micromanaging too much. the whole goal and idea is for them to manage this strategy and tactics of the fleet while also having a little bit of the gameplay being geared towards managing how your supply ships prioritize supplying your fleet. So I also did add a new ship, which is a transport ship, which will be a supply ship. Later on these indicators here, we see the hull and the shields. If the ship has shields, it'll have a shields indicator that indicates the life or the strength of the shield. And there'll also be supply bar on there and showing how much supply the ship has left or whatever resource the ship is carrying, and as well as the amount of drones that are deployed. So these ships, the transport ships, will deploy drones, and the drones will ferry the supply to your other ships, capital ships, including small vessels as well. So you'll be able to eventually set the priority for your supply ships to, for example, supply fighters, or supply gunships, or supply other capital ships, or supply certain types of capital ships, for example. So that's the extent of managing supply, but you will be able to tell a supply ship to target and supply a specific ship. So there will be you'll be basically managing the priority system for supplying ships instead of trying to manage the supply of each individual ship. And the drones will automatically carry out those priority orders. And also keep in mind, sorry guys, I'm gonna quit twitching the camera so much. I have a tendency to do that. I'm trying to remember not to do that, so I have to be very gentle on your guys' eyes with the camera twitching. So, yeah, and the AI plus the player will be able to shoot down the transport drones that are ferrying resources around. So you'll be able to kill the transport vessels, which will very negatively impact that team, or you'll be able to also shoot down the drones that are ferrying resources. And later on, I may add the ability to capture them too, to capture their drones with the tractor beam. Initially, I probably won't be doing that, but there's a lot of features I want to add later on, but I have just a basic set of features that I want to do, and then I have ideas for some cool additions once I have a fully functioning prototype of the game where you can play the game all the way through. So if I were to select this ship here, and you can see that it has the squads and everything selected. If I remove the squads, there you go. You have just the capital ship and the supply ship. There's capital, support vessels over there. See how the indicator changes? So there's still some more work to be done there. I think that for smaller vessels, I'm going to scale these indicators down quite a bit, so you can easily see what is what just based on the indicators. So that's my focus, is making it as easy as possible for the player to identify what's going on the battlefield just by the indicators and icons without having to like go really through and read this list. Another thing that I have on my bucket list after I get all these other UI panels worked out is I'm going to do a little bit more work to the capital ship pathfinding and avoidance. During my testing, I've seen some issues where they still kind of run into each other a little bit. Like here comes this one. Let's see if he didn't collide. But there's still some issues, especially with the large, bulky ships that I still have to work out because I do want them intelligently avoiding each other in a somewhat realistic manner, as good as I can get it anyway, as well as other stationary objects in space, like the station, which they already do very well. They already avoid and go around the station. The issue with them now is when there's a whole bunch of them clustered up together, getting them to not ball up, especially if they're all headed towards the same target. So what else is there? Yeah, so these buttons will open up another window that will show more details about the ship. The ships will have a leveling system, and they'll level up as they carry out their duties and kill ships and do different tasks according to what kind of ship class they are. And there'll be more information about the level and what kind of bonuses the ship has on the actual individual ship panel. If it's a capital ship or supply and you click here, one of these will open up that panel and show you all the information about the ship that can't be condensed basically into this window. And the same is true for squads. The squad will have a separate panel that will list more information about the squad. And then this is something I'm going to be working on next, which is the posture and orders panel down here, which will allow you to issue the orders to the ships that you have selected. So if you have all the ships selected, this will issue orders to all the ships, okay? And then if you were to remove the capital ships and the support and just have squads, then it will issue just those orders to the squads. So that's the whole purpose of the filter 2 up here, is controlling which ships have orders issued to them through the orders issuing panel down here. And some of these options, such as move to position, because it's difficult to tell it what position to move to in three-dimensional space, I suppose it's possible. I've been thinking about ways to implement that, but I'm not sure that it's that intuitive. So I think what's going to happen with the move to position, it'll swap from, if you're in a fly cam mode, it'll swap to the top view perspective mode and allow you to drag from that. Wherever you click, it'll draw a line, and then you'll hold down right click to set up or down, and that's how you'll get your directional and then your vertical space for telling it what position to move to. And there will be different types of position movements, like move and engage, move and defend, and different types of orders as far as controlling movement, and different types of orders as controlling different aspects of the ship's navigation. And so I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on that because I need it to be easy to use and very intuitive and something familiar for a lot of RTS space, RTS players. And then you also see up top is the resources that'll be in the game, which is supply, manpower, and spare parts. And I mentioned in a previous video that supply is kind of a blanket resource. The ships actually have fuel. Okay, so if I click on here and you see these resources here, this is fuel, ammunition, missiles, and manpower. Okay, so the supply ships, uh, they will prioritize different types of resources. For example, ammunition, you'll be able to set that as the priority. And ammunition will use a certain amount of supply, and fuel will also use a certain amount of supply. So I've decided, instead of having those resources separate, they will just divide it among the available supply. and you'll be able to dedicate a certain number of drones to supplying a certain type of resource. So if your transport has 10 available drones for deployment, you can set a certain number for ammunition or a certain number for fuel. And then the drones will only go to ships that need that type of resource as well. So all that part of it will be automated. So, like I said, I don't want the player micromanaging the resource delivery drones. It is just barely missing that ship. Just barely. Might have to work on that a little bit. It's a pretty good distance away, though. I have the explosion particles turned off at the moment, too, so you didn't see those showing up. Anyways, I'm just going to keep at it, and I'll post another update when I have more of the UI done. Um, I really can't wait to at least get all my drafts of all the different UI panels up so I can move on to doing something a little bit more fun like missiles. I can't wait to do missiles. Missiles are going to be fun to build the missile turrets and rockets and some of the physics effects from missile based explosions and stuff like that. And as far as the UI, you know, the looks of it, I can come back and maybe polish it more later on. My main concern right now is functionality and getting all the data that I want to display to the player in there. And as far as like making these hit point bars and stuff look fancy and nice with some nice shaders and stuff, I'm not really concerned about that at the moment. It's more as far as I'm more concerned about functionality. And I'll be super happy once I can actually issue movement orders to the ships, movement and attack orders, just basic orders, and have that system implemented into uh, the ship controller. Anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out. And everyone have a good day.